another one that I've been thinking about is also what are the economics play in these kinds of things? I mean, obviously Norway is very well off in terms of how well people do, but in other countries, the reality is that if I think of, for example, if I think back of my family in Mexico, so my mother had a total of, my grandparents had 14 kids.
Wow.
Right? And then the next generation, my mother just had 2 kids.
Yeah.
My aunt had between 2 and 3 kids.
Yeah.
So one of the main differences is obviously education, a lot of factors, but one of the main ones is also the economics behind it.
Yeah.
Whereas before, you know, where 1 kid can eat, my grandmother would say, well, 11 can eat as well.
Yeah.
But nowadays it seems that, you know, things cost a little bit more now. Before, the father could sustain the whole family. Nowadays, you need both parents to sustain the whole family. So seeing perhaps having 1 kid is already a burden to some in terms of economics. Having another one could place them in a very difficult situation where maybe the quality of life could take a hit.
Yeah.
So what are the policy from a government perspective that need to change in order for families to have better opportunity to reproduce?
Yeah. So the short answer is throwing money at it doesn't work. The long answer is that the economic factors are complex and super interesting. So the change from living in a rural environment to an urban environment is very important. On a farm, kids are free labor. In the city, they're really expensive and they cramp up your apartment. So if you want to look at why women now maybe want 3 children instead of 11, that's where you want to look. But the situation we're in now, or say in Norway, women still want 2.4 but only have 1.4, other factors are probably more important because they still want above replacement level reproduction. They're just not able to make it happen. So we have never been more prosperous than we are now. We're doing really well. Norway is incredibly rich. So that it's the economy that is hindering people from having children now compared to when we were dirt poor before the war or earlier times. It's more straightforward than what you would think from a rational Western perspective where people are beings who try to optimize outcomes. What happens when we're poor from an evolutionary perspective? In the evolutionary science, we have something called we have a life strategy theory. So if things are really bad, if you live in a very impoverished environment, your organism is incentivized to adopt a fast life strategy, which means to reproduce as quickly as possible because there might not be a tomorrow. So we invest less, we have a short-term perspective, zero-sum thinking, and teenage pregnancies just become very common. It does something with our head. So you would think, in an impoverished environment, you can't afford children, so you should have fewer. Well, not necessarily so. While if you're doing really well in a rich environment, you adopt what's called a slow life strategy, where you invest, you increase your expectations, you take your time, and that is what many women are doing. Things are so good that they can afford not to just hook up with the first low-value male who offers to be your boyfriend and then start reproducing with him. You set your heights higher. You say, well, maybe I don't need to start reproducing when I'm 19 or 24 or 29. Maybe I can wait into my 30s till my career is in place, till I find the right guy. And what happens for many women is that they either don't find a partner so that they can't start having children with, or they find him so late in life that the reproductive window is dramatically shortened. So maybe they want 3 children, they just have time to have 1. So economy can pull in both directions, of course. Real estate is getting really expensive. To get a big apartment, if you want to live centrally in Oslo, it's expensive. If you want 3 children, you need a bigger car. But several countries have started experimenting with throwing money at this to target, if you commit to reproductive behaviors, we're going to give you a certain amount of monies. Those target transfers in those experiments that have been held had no effect. So there is another thing they're experimenting with where you just kind of like throw money more generally at people and see if that extra prosperity leads to more babies. And those have had an effect, but it's very expensive. One extra baby might cost $1 or $2 million in terms of, so it's just not effective. So what we're probably going to do in Norway now, we have a birth rate committee that is working now that will have their part report in April and then their final report next year. They're probably going to suggest $100 extra here, $1,000 extra there. They're going to try to sprinkle money on it, which is the social democratic way. This is what we've always done. And that's probably going to have no or very little effect, or it could even have a negative effect. So that's not going to work. So that traditional political tool chest that we're comfortable with, that has become rather empty. So social democracy was partially a result of low fertility. In the interwar years, in the 20s and 30s, we struggled with lower fertility. And back then, they decided to build houses, make it easier for the workers materially to have children. And then came also World War II, and that worked. Now we've gotten in a different position where extra money, at least used in the traditional way, is unlikely to have any effect at all, or if it has any effect, certainly not one that's going to be strong enough. So we have to think differently and make more drastic choices, and and hope that those experiments we have over time can change our culture, because this is a question of culture, not of money, primarily. We need to, like I said earlier, I don't think all countries go in this direction, but I think in a country like Norway and Finland, we need to ask ourselves, how can we build a society that is substantially different from this one, in which enough women will choose to have children because women with 3 children have better lives than single women. They need to not lose so many of those opportunities that they do today. And that will require significant cultural change. Women need to be empowered and gain access to more resources, and men need to be more marginalized, unfortunately, if we're going to go in that direction. You can't do it both. The empowerment of women requires a marginalization of low-value men. That's just the fact of it.